Hi guys, so this video here is taken from a full course on building a track from scratch in Logic. You'll be able to watch all of the Logic related videos for the course on YouTube. There will be a link to the playlist below for you. But in this course, we're basically building this whole track from scratch. If you want to follow along with that, you can. And if you want to download the project file and all the samples that go with the course, there's a link to that in the description as well. I hope this video is useful to you and that you're able to follow along with the course. Let's jump into it.
Heavy, but now I'm steady, going up from hitting the ground.
Okay, so let's dive into the creative mixing stage, which is really going to be sort of the sound design and making this our own. We've used a lot of presets and very quickly designed sounds. Now this is going to be more about making it feel like this is our thing.
Oh, you left me.
Now, I think a big thing to address is the piano. Now, it was already a kind of preset of my piano, which just had a very basic EQ, compressor, and tape delay on. You know, if we solo it out, it sounds good. I think there's some other things that we can maybe do with it. Almost certainly we can give it its own room and bit of a space. We could potentially put it into the large hall that's set up here. Let's just try that out for the first thing. We're going to go to bus and large concert hall. If we just hold option and click, it will take it to 0 for us. And we just need to make sure that the large hall has been taken off of mute like that. It's got this huge delay now. Well, we're not going to want that because this is kind of a fast track. We really need this to be on point quite quickly. So if we just open up Chromaverb here, and Chromaverb's a fantastic reverb. It's got some really useful things like this pre-delay at 149 milliseconds. If we click this right here, we can actually bring it into the exact kind of like delay time that we would like. Something like 1/64 probably be a bit better for us. So that's giving a lot of its own tone, but there's a lot of low end there. Now, Chromaverb does have something dead useful built into it for us. If we click on details, it has an EQ here, and we can just put this little tail on here. And we're just going to roll out a lot of that low end there. And we can change the slope just down here to a 12 dB, something like that. I'm just going to bring it above 200. Our kick and snare are going to be in that sort of region. We want it to be rolling off by there, especially just on the reverb side of things. That's giving it a lot more space. If we take it away. That sounds really cool at 100%, but it's probably never going to work actually in a track. So I'm probably just going to have to dial it back just a touch. Just listen in some context quickly. That's quite nice just there. I've taken it back by 5.4 dB, I think, but you know, whatever works for you at the end of the day. Something else I kind of like to do on here, if we just go back into the main section, I'm just going to level off the low end section here. And I quite like it to still be a pretty bright reverb. We've taken a lot of volume out of it now, and I want that high end to still really be there. It's not natural, but it's not necessarily what we're after here. So there's quite nice. We're giving lots of extra level to where the melody sits, and it gives it its own space really quite nicely. Now we can use the mouse wheel on these points just to control them, or there's a Q value at the bottom here. I think if we have it kind of narrow like that. Let's bring it up here as well. That's quite nice. Now the other thing that's using this large hall is very subtly being used by the strings. So let's just make sure that we've not made any like overly negative changes. Let's just make a quick loop here. And that sounds okay. It's barely being fed into them, to be honest. So something else I want to do with the piano is kind of warm it up a little bit. It's at the moment, I don't want to say a little bit cold, but maybe a little bit small feeling. So I might try and use some distortion just to beef it up a little bit and kind of warm it up a touch. There's a couple of options we could do. We've already got the compressor on here. We could push it like this with the distortion on here on the SSL channel. But I think let's be a little bit more creative with it, and let's try and use something else. And I'm going to put the distortion before the compressor. This might cause me to need to reset the compression, but I don't want anything to be changing the dynamics that we've already got, because this is preset for me and works really nicely as it is. If we go down to multi effects, we've got fat effects. Let's just drop that in there. So Fat Effects is pretty much a distortion plugin. It's got a huge variety of what can be done with it. Across the bottom here, all the different types of distortion, for example, and the order that they're in. So if we just wanted to say very dry, for example, we can actually just drag that right to the start and make sure all the other like types are switched off. So switch everything else off there. We should have distortion on, and then the distortion setting here, we've got bit crush, soft sat, very drive. We can just take those to 0% and just push the very drive right up. Then we can actually have a blend of those three, and if we switch it here, you can see it actually switches down here as well. Notice as well the order I've got it on here is different here, because we can mix and match the flow of it. So I can put the tube in the middle, even though the tube's on the right here, can kind of be confusing. So you always got to check that bottom row just to make sure you've got the right combination of what you're after. So it can make a difference if like put tube and bit crush like this, for example. If we switch them round, it's a completely different vibe, right? So the order is overly important. Anyway, I think we're just going to have a little bit of tube push here. I'm going to make use of the bandpass and just bring it up to like 30 Hertz. When we're distorting like this, it can add lots of extra harmonics. We definitely don't want anything added below there. And we could probably go a lot higher, but we'll probably tackle it with EQ later. Just don't want to add some crazy sub that we can't see, don't know what's going on. So we're just going to make sure that bandpass is introduced, and we don't really want any resonance on them either. Just turn that limiter off on the master there. Now we can still blend the two together. I think having some of the original in there is going to be quite nice. I'm going to put the compressor directly after this as well. I put it on Studio VCA. Really long release. Not feeling that, switch that off. Okay, so the lower tones are okay. However, when we get a bit further in and we've really sort of risen up, it's distorting too much. So we're going to dial the soft sat back. stick with the compressor we've got in. It's quite liking the longer release though. I'm just going to pop an EQ on the large hall on Chromaverb. I'm just hearing a little something going on in the lower end, so I'm just, again, going to roll that away, especially around here. I'll be a little bit harsh with it on the slope with 18 dB.
So tell me,
Okay, so having the blend here is, of course, just to lose a little bit of level. I'm going to bring that back up with the compressor, and I might actually distort it here for that gain. Let's just try that out. Notice I'm not really after balancing out or fixing frequencies here. I'm after making this sound feel a bit like it's more my own. So what we're going to do, we're going to switch everything off. We're just going to reintroduce it. I want to hear how different that sound really is. It's really coming from fat effects, crushing it down and adding a little bit of grit to it. The compressor lifting it all back up, and the reverb is really helping us make that into our own sound there in terms of the piano. And it all seems to sit relatively well sound-wise at the minute with the rest of the track. Sounding good. Now I'm going to try and dive a bit more into the Reese and see what else we can do with that now.